Hello, David.
Hi, Yu Chen's driving today.
Yu Chen is what?
Yu Chen is running the hosting account today.
Oh, okay. All right. All right.
So don't blame Dave for any hosting issues.
Okay. No. So good. Okay. Spread the wealth, so to speak. But David be a little freer. That's good. Anyway, let's see. We got a couple of minutes yet. Well, whew. Well, ooh. Anybody with imaginative July 4th plans? Nope.
I'm gonna grill some steaks.
Yeah, I was thinking about maybe trying to go out and get some steaks today, something like that. That would, yeah, it's almost like you got to have steaks on the 4th of July. Anybody else? Imaginative, of course, these days are kind of limited, but imaginative July 4th plan. Nope. Okay. In fact, July 4th is my dad's birthday. He was born on July, 4th of July. And so, every time the 4th of July comes around, obviously, I think of my dad anyway sometimes, but I always think of him on July 4th. And Santa Cruz, they used to do all those fireworks. I don't know if they're doing it now, but you go to the boardwalk, these big firework displays on July 4th. I think I remember, what was it? I think it was, I do remember going there. I think it was probably 1974. And Mary Heine was living in downtown San Jose by the police department in City Hall. And I think she and I and a couple of the UC Santa Cruz Aikido students, we went on July 4th to see the fireworks. I remember that for some reason. But when you're over there, sometimes you don't necessarily do that. And I remember when I was living in the dojo in Japantown, my daughter was there. And so we would, I think it was 2 years running, we took the light rail to Great America and we watched the fireworks. And she loved to go on all those crazy roller coaster rides. I was always kind of going, okay, keep my center here before that, right? She'd look at me and say, okay, what are you doing? I said, I'm trying to keep my center here. And so her contention was, no, Dad, you're supposed to lose it. So, those are 4th of July memories. Let's see. Yeah, we're here. I thought we do. A lot of times we can just go through some of the Osensei stuff, but maybe what we could do is maybe start out with that just a little bit of, let's make sure I have that. Yeah, just kind of a little bit of settling. Okay, so last I looked, the world was kind of chaotic. Okay. And so it's real difficult in that period because there's a lot of energy moving here. There's always this dialogue that's running, internal dialogue, the eye level right here. And right now that's particularly. So we have 4th of July coming on. So many conflicting things. Coronavirus, extend the shutdown, open up, political issues, political scandals. It's going on. It's going on anyway, but there's the sense where this gets kind of like that. So what I thought we do a little bit is just work a little bit of just kind of easy settle. And one of the things that the docents kind of used to use, which I thought was kind of interesting, he would say, give me a negative. In other words, he would actually start the practice of sitting with a negative. All right, like country and confusion. And settle with it. Start to feel your breathing. See, this is going on anyway. And I can go along with it, or I can just start to kind of settle. And it doesn't mean that I don't wear a mask when I go out because I'm settling and I'm settling deeper, or that I don't observe social distancing, but I don't want to keep going along with this, so I'm going to settle a bit deeper. Kind of noticing my breathing is starting getting a bit here as opposed to, when I'm up here, the breathing is pretty shallow. So sometimes, if you start with you don't stay with a negative, but say the negative is going on here, and this is moving so fast that a lot of times we don't catch that it's rebounding up here again and again. Kind of settle underneath it. I kind of start to catch the fact that my feet are on the ground, which I don't, I'm here de facto though. Start to pick up a vertical top bottom here, kind of a center. If I kind of go into what is a center of, well, it's calm. It extends up, but it also extends deeper. If I were to check here with the body, my own system, breath is deeper than the belly. Heartbeat, when I'm up here, is kind of starting to kind of settle down. That deeper center of calm starts to connect to something underneath, like a calm pool of energy. Important thing, that calm pool, the center of calm, those are just there, but that you stay with the feel experience of them. There's a tendency to kind of figure it out and get into the awareness of it. Wow, I'm da-da. But just stay easy. So the upper finer realms and the deeper realms. And my sense a little bit is that there's really very little difference between them, except one of the things that the upper realms encourage more the awareness of them. And any awareness of something as an equal and balancing opposite of the field experience. So if we got that deeper, calmer pool of energy. If I check back up here, that's going on up there, but this is calmer. This is part of now a deeper system. And there's my posture. I'm not saying I've got to meditate. Chest is more open. When I'm caught up there, we just keep going around the same thoughts. And alarm or negative, I don't even know it. I don't even know it. It's just rebounding in my head. But down here, I'm just said, different perspective. That's going to go on forever. But in this deeper, deeper, deeper realm that keeps you calm. And that feel experience is more like you soak. What do I mean? This area can get kind of fancy, like, sort of little baby spirals going up in there, with different sounds, with different colors, with different textures. Let's stay with the experience. Your awareness expands once you get out of that space. Like, oh, that's kind of cool. Just continue to breathe, continue to soak. And underneath that calm pool of energy, you just get the feeling it was kind of like a magic cave. And that cave is filled with magic crystals and light and different colors, which is, that's the awareness of it, but soak. If I were to check, for example, the sense of feel is now around the body and in back as well as under and top. Mainly, the dialogue puts us out here. See, one thing that I've read is ever since they kind of had his prayer time, his meditation time. And what he said is if he didn't, he could still function, he could still be O Sensei, but he said it was not the same. And so as you kind of get to a deeper, finer place, he had fancy words like the floating bridge of heaven, or the high plane of heaven, or the mystical river of sounds in Kototama, Odo. But I'm willing to bet that a lot of that, those are names. He was very deep, much deeper than I am, into the actual feel experience of it. And if you trace I, it's not de facto I up there, but as we kind of start to deepen, so there's a kind of transparency, the deep magic center of calm, the deeper pool of energy, very calm. That magic cave, the crystal cave. And the process of it, there's a part of me that feels like revitalized from the interior, you know, so, a little deeper, a little deeper, a little deeper, a little deeper. Boom. See all that's going on up there. And when I'm kind of just bouncing around with it up there, I can't do much. I can't chart my own course. I can't feel who I am when I'm just buffered by all that stuff. So. Sometimes in the comic book universe, Superman or Supergirl, they have to go to the Fortress of Solitude because they're so busy saving the world. They need to go to the fortress, and fortress comes out of Krypton, their source place. They have a chance to kind of go back to that. So let's think about what that journey is. If you get a little too caught up in the fantasy characters, you miss the experience of it that's there for you. Okay. Anyway, I don't know if I lost everybody with that, but anybody with a comment on that? This is kind of a quick, you call it a journey, a meditative journey. Okay. Anybody? Question, comment? Like, I'm confused. What are you talking about? I don't know. No? See, I'm pretty quick. I'm pretty quick. I mean, that in those sense, they always yell at me, says, Jack, you're too fast. How can you do that? And I said, well, that's my superpower. So, I can't run like a flash or anything, but I can go pretty quick through the dimensions. And I wasn't always that way. But, you know, it's something that I can kind of do. Now, the thing that you know, we all have our core work. So for me, to kind of not so much get caught up in the fanciness or the awareness of it, but to kind of soak with it. To be very easy and stay in the experience as opposed to the knowledge or the vision of it. And as you get a little easier with it, then what happens, vision, experience, or knowledge experience, they start to kind of become one thing. Okay, anybody with a question? I mean, we have several things that we have kind of settle with the negative. Okay. Again, Osensei said, don't neglect the importance of what he called the underworld, underground, the nenokuni, in the process of Aikido. And so a lot of times we can think, I can't focus, I can't be spiritual, it's too negative. Use the negative. Downtime. So that's a major step. Doesn't mean you do this to escape the negative. If I'm a little too, this world sucks, so I'm just going to go into my spiritual space. That's not what this is about at all. Like from here, I really know I'm going to vote in November. Okay. All right. Okay. Anybody with no, we have the start with a negative. You don't want to be a negative person, like, you know. But I can't do anything when I'm in the reaction to the negative. Somebody use, and these days that's a very easy thing to find. Okay. Personal negative. I'm getting sick of just sort of being in isolation. That's a negative. I'm just going to be easy with it. There's a downtime there. It's a much more minor downtime, but that's just eating me up. I'm going to do something stupid. But same process, just a more minor downtime, but I just sort of am easy with it. Those are the ones that actually keep us trapped. All of a sudden, the base starts to kind of widen a bit and deepen, so I'm kind of a more of a plush field as opposed to I can't get out. You can travel in meditation. Okay. I mean, we're limited only by our imagination. Okay. When I had a group in Kauai in 2018, I guess David was there. I just said, soak in these places because, you may reach a time when you need to be on the beach in Kauai and just soak here. Soak in the wind, soak in the sun. And Don Juan would say sometimes you soak in a place that's a power space, so you can return there in your quote unquote in your dreaming, which can mean you're traveling in your meditation, but it's not purely a fantasy because your consciousness is tied to that place. Okay, anybody? We got the column of calm, the magic pool, the crystal cave underneath. There's a whole bunch of things. Any of them resonate for you? No? Oh yeah, well I got 2 thumbs up from one. Okay. Anybody? David?
Well, one of the reasons I'm not talking is because this whole thing is just making me feel profoundly uncomfortable.
Yeah, that happens. That happens. Okay.
I'm trying to just stay with it and follow along or just be here, but I'm just uncomfortable and I don't want to be the person that says what I don't want to say that.
Yeah, no, literally, I know exactly how you feel. Okay. When Nadeau Sensei first opened San Jose, it's his school, and I was teaching there. And so I'd go over Monday nights, and at that time, Betsy Hill was kind of his top student. And so, I'd go over there, and she'd come up to me and say, "You want to go to our sitting tonight?" So, drive over to Nadeau's place. He had a property on Sleeper Avenue, and then I would sit there, and there'd be a whole group of people talking about all this crazy stuff that I didn't see. And I just felt really dumb. What are you talking about? A center of calm. What are you talking about? A pool, a magic pool, and a crystal cave, and all that. I was going, I'm hopeless. So what it is a little bit is one of the tricks of the trade is be very easy there. See, that's your downtime. I know that, and sometimes it's like, I'll tell you a really good gateway. I feel incredibly stupid. And I used to feel that way when I would go there and go, I don't understand whatever they're talking about. Okay, today we're gonna start out with the universe as an up-down spiral. I go, what's this about? Well, the up spiral, the down spiral. Everybody else is talking, and I'm feeling stupider than you can believe. Stupid, stupid, stupid. So I feel stupid is a good way to get started and be easy there. The downtime.
Okay,
Now,
well, that's
if you,
easy for me to do.
but you see, the thing is, for me, for example, if I say that, I feel stupid. But all of a sudden, the downtime, I kind of feel the floor better. All right. And see, what it is, you're not stupid, but everything starts to rebound here around that statement. There's a lot of energy there. So you just be easy with it. Say it's downtime. Nobody wants to feel stupid. And all of a sudden, there's some roots grow out my feet. So I'm starting to kind of get a deeper rooted sense. Okay. And what I tend to do is, again, this drives the docent nuts. Says, you're so fast, you're too fast, I can't follow you. I said, no, it's okay. No, he's kind of like Superman, but I'm Flash, I can run faster than he can. He can lift buildings and everything, but I can beat him in a foot race, right? No fear of flying. Okay. So I like the dimensional stuff because I'm really quick with it. Or I wasn't always this way. All right. So use the feel stupid. It's a downtime. Anybody else there? See, it's funny. It's what I find a lot of times is if I start bigger, like an example, our president has really screwed this nation over. I can't do anything with it, but I can get a really good downtime out of that because I realize how crazy this gets. When I just start to go around and around on it, so I'm going to be very easy there. It takes me to a pretty deep place real fast. Okay, and what I find a little bit is I kind of go down, then some of the stuff that comes up for you right there, I just start to feel stupid. And so, as you do that, you're working macro, but you also are working micro. Sometimes little stuff comes up, so you're just easy with that too. Okay? I mean, the Do Sensei said that O-sensei got mad if his toilet paper wasn't cut in certain shapes. He had his small side. And I was thinking, really? He said, yeah. I said, oh, okay. So, but so that's a good one. That's a good starting place. I feel stupid. I mean, other ones that are pretty common these days, I feel like a failure. The school is closed. This is happening, that's happening, this is not happening. Easy. Okay? Anybody else come up with, I'm kind of using some super speed here. And maybe you follow me, maybe you don't. If you follow me, make sure that you're in the feel experience of it. Because you can travel really fast on an awareness sign, but the actual feel experience is different. See, one of the things, if I feel stupid, I don't want to feel stupid. So I try to do something to get out of feeling stupid. But if I can feel stupid, I'm in a feel space. If I'm overwhelmed, or I am confused, or whatever. I remember one time I was in a sitting with Robert Nadeau, and he was talking. He was criticizing everybody because it was pretty much right here. Like, I feel stupid. I don't want to feel stupid. He said, feel stupid. And so he was kind of pinpointing everybody's weak point, as that first shift into downtime. And so he gets up there, so I'll tell you what my weak point is. My weak point is I've got to know. I have to feel like I'm on top of it. I went, you sure do. So, but on the other hand, then I started to notice, that particular thing in his behavior, like a clinical psychologist, yes. And so, when he said pounding on other people, I was thinking that's because you feel like you got to know everything. You got to kind of go, but easy there. So anybody else with I feel stupid or whatever, that's actually sometimes more important than getting to the fancy realms, because I feel helpless. I feel hopeless. See, sometimes when they're there, we tend to think, well, no, I got to get into a finer realm. But you don't know. That's my first step. I'm just very fast there. So anybody want to share one? David's was brilliant, by the way. David, that was very brilliant right there. Yeah. Okay. And I've been exactly there. I was going, oh my God, yes, that's beautiful. Okay. Anybody else? Cliff, anything there? Hello?
Hi, Sensei. Yeah, I've been having to feed the kids lunch. My wife was at the grocery store, so I've been kind of listening but not participating.
Sure, that's fine.
I will watch the tape, as we old folks say. There's another tape, and try it again, in the next few days.
Well, let's do it this way, okay? Because we went kind of a very fast journey, okay? And when, if you watch Nadosa, he talks about finer dimensions. So we kind of took a trip through them. But, we started out with give me a negative. And that's oftentimes, David's is brilliant. I mean, isn't that weird? He can feel stupid, he gets rewarded for feeling stupid. Yeah, it's an honest statement. All right. If I look at mine right now, I am very pessimistic. I am a pessimist. It's a total honest statement. I'm pessimistic about the cult, about the country. I'm pessimistic about the economy. I'm pessimistic about the school reopening right now. How are we going to do it? I'm pessimistic about finances. And there's not anything I can do about it right now. We're all kind of in a freeze, so it's going to be easy with it. The downtime starts. I start to feel my feet a bit more. Once I get to the feet, everything kind of starts going out. Now, the root system I was getting before was kind of down. Now I'm getting more of what I would call a wide root system. Okay. And then I'm starting to touch a little bit of what I call, what Nadosa calls the dark. In other words, see, this is kind of my own personal thing right here. And, I'm kind of, I don't know about that, but I'm going to be easy with it. All of a sudden, see, part of me just starts to kind of, okay. So seeing that as a barrier, I'm just going to go. That's so sensitive, the land of the roots. And I feel like a kid, and I'm afraid of what happens if I watch a monster movie. That the monster is going to, I used to have this thing that the monster was going to come into my bedroom like Frankenstein. But I'm just going to be easy with it. And I'm easy with it. Then there's almost like that sense, but why are you so afraid, child? There's kind of a whole loving sense down here that you miss when you start to really, rebound off of your own fears, like the Frankenstein monster is going to come in. And the thing is, I could outrun the Frankenstein monster, even as a kid. But that's what the eye kind of runs into. But you can look at that, or you can kind of say, this place down here is actually quite loving. Once I get past that fear of the Frankenstein monster, this is my space. And then all of a sudden, there's a transparency that starts here. And right about there, all of a sudden, I get this feeling, that there's, sometimes, you open the drain and the water goes down. And all of a sudden, there's initially there's a pull here, and but if I trusted what happened for the roots of the dark. So all of a sudden, I'm going to follow that spiral down. I'm a little uncertain here for just a minute. That's again the downtime. That's the eye. Okay. All of a sudden, there's something. It's almost like a honeycomb. It's which is not frightening at all. I mean, it's kind of sweet. You see what I mean? There's an area where all of a sudden down here, there's kind of a golden sense. Again, I get into the awareness of it, but just kind of the feel, experience of it. And this starts to be a pretty neat place. Okay. But there are about 3 or 4 steps down here where I start to go, the little eye starts to kind of bark. That's what kind of pisses Nado Sensei off. It's like, no, Jack, you should focus on it. I said, yeah, okay, but I am pretty fast going into the finer, deeper. Okay? I wasn't always this way. All right? Anybody off of that? So, if you get a negative, especially, what really stops people is the personal negative. And you have to be honest. I say, am I pessimistic? I'm still pessimistic. But when I'm kind of down here, there's a feeling that I'm a lot more of a loving person, right? And there's love that comes back. And a lot of the isolation there, I'm in that tighter eye, and I'm shielding myself off from the nourishment of the love that's there. I have to go deeper in order to find that. That's kind of a personal thing with me. But that's it's part of the unit right now. But if I try to fix it or try to find love up there, I'm just going to mess it up. Okay? Anybody around the negative? It's harder sometimes a personal negative. I had this conversation with Nado Sensei a couple of days ago, and he was saying, okay, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. And I was saying, yeah, but there's this, that, this, that. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And I realized what I should have said is, you've done a lot of work, so you can go 1, 2, 3, 4. But the vast majority, can you present 1, 2, 3, 4 to people? Yeah. But there are kind of like stations that you kind of need to kind of understand. Like the one that, if I feel stupid, I have to be very easy. I have to kind of love that part of myself. Or if I feel pessimistic, I shouldn't feel pessimistic. You do Aikido, I teach Aikido, I shouldn't be pessimistic, but okay. It's an honest assessment. It doesn't have to define me, but it can keep me trapped. Okay? And that's a very funny thing, this dialogue here. It just keeps us rebounding off of our own stuff, so we never go deeper to the finer, truer level of ourselves. So that's really what a spiritual journey like this does. The eye kind of goes, I'm much more than this. Okay? Anybody with anything? So, what we did is we started kind of fast with kind of, going dimension to dimension. But then again, we kind of went back into, there's a saying in baseball, you can't steal first base. You have to either walk or hit your way on or whatever. And so kind of dealing with that first level of I, you know, to go deeper is oftentimes, it is probably for most people the hardest thing to do. Okay. And so anybody with a question or comment? Okay, let me check the time. Yeah. See, we have
I was gonna, oh,
Yeah.
sorry, I was gonna add, after David said that and you spoke, yeah, I feel stupid. I feel like a failure and almost daily, especially since leaving the Navy. But like today, when this started out, or when I start out the classes, I try to come in relaxed and purified misogi or whatnot. But like today, could almost describe the feeling as you spoke us through the meditation. Like I'm in a state of I'm a failure. I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, but you know your shit. So latch on and try to follow along, and somehow I'm able to feel sense wherever I go as you're doing it. So I still know I don't know what I'm doing, but.
Well, what happens is that as you go deeper, finer, your eye goes deeper, finer as well. Okay, and you know the sense of it is you get a quick map. And what it is a little bit, there's so much energy moving that this is getting faster. And the faster this gets, the more we get to be kind of a prisoner of our own eye. Okay, we talk about social distance, but this is more like self-distance. I get more into the I being kind of buffeted by all this interior dialogue. And if I do kind of a spiritual journey, I go into the deeper, finer realms. There's also a deeper, finer I there. It's a self. And, you know, if you take the I there, you're delusional. The virus will disappear. When the weather gets hot, it will go. It's a hoax. Okay, that's delusional. You take a very limited level of I and put it into a realm of power. It's delusional. But you take it step by step. And you know, the finer levels of experience, there's a finer level of I. That finer level of I doesn't feel stupid or a failure. It's just in the moment, it's direct experience. You know? And if the I is there, oftentimes it's uncomfortable. The deeper, finer levels push in their own way. But there is also the fact that, you know, there's a de facto ordinary level of I that gets pushed even more as things get faster and that dialogue gets crazier. And so, you know, one of the things is we just get to where we get a practice of centering, realizing that, you know, right now we really need to be able to take the space to find ourselves. I mean, you know, if I'm in a very deep, magical place, you know, the world is still in a lot of trouble. But what that can do is by taking me to a finer level of myself, instead of being so buffeted and judgmental, I can be more compassionate. I mean, believe it or not, you know, I was thinking about, you know, our president, you know, and that usually sets me off. I was thinking, you know, he's probably having a pretty tough time here. Now, he did the majority of it to himself. But, you know I don't like it when everything I do tends to kind of come back at me, right? And if you put that personality with all these forces pushing, I say, yeah, I feel for him. I don't like him. I don't like what he does. I don't like that sort of behavior pattern. But I can say, Donald, you're probably going through a lot of stuff. I'll leave it at that. You built it, you got to sit in it. Because I know, I'm sitting in my own mistakes right now. Right? So, there's a point where I don't want to be the sort of person that says, you're a human being. You're not a human being. You're just a stupid, deranged archetype that I can hate. I don't want to be that sort of person. And I don't really like him at all. But I feel compassion for the situations, and because I've been in them, for every move you make, it rebounds back at you. And the harder you try to get out of it, the worse you make it. And if he's there, yeah, I understand why he's there. And I don't particularly, to be honest with you, want him to get out of it. I want him to run that whole thing out and maybe get some sort of sense for how destructive that sort of psychology that runs him is. Do I think he'll learn? Probably not. But I can feel, I don't want to hate another person. I really don't. I don't really want to necessarily beat somebody just to win. I don't want to do that. So as you start to go deeper, you'll find the I, self, starts to also deepen. And if we're up here, we're going to be caught up in our judgments and under tremendous pressure. So in O-Sensei said, don't neglect the Nenokun, the deeper, deeper, deeper land of the roots. But that pushes, but it's a different push than this. So what we did the first part was just go through kind of a spiritual journey. And then, what we did with David's statement. So it takes courage to tell yourself, this is what's going on with me. I'm pessimistic. Certain times I feel hopeless. That's natural, I'm human. No, you shouldn't do that. You should be this and that because you're the right. You don't know. And you may miss things, I go see my granddaughter. We have to socially distance, so we can't just go like we normally do. I miss that, right? I see my daughter, I can't give her a hug. Yeah, it's all crazy. It's all nuts, but that's downtime. And I don't want to let all that push me into a tighter eye. Or if that starts to happen, I want to be able to take it the other way. That's O-Sensei's great gift. Basically we use the negative. We do not neglect the importance of the downtime in our spiritual growth. Okay, anybody else? Okay, so David, we are going to go back on that journey. Okay? So we kind of went macro, in other words, going through the finer dimensions. Then we kind of went micro, which we started out with a negative I. And we'll see what happens this time. What's interesting is the I itself, because it's been acknowledged. It was there when we were doing kind of the real deep thing, but it's just easier. So right now I'm not looking for a negative. I'm just looking for a more, I call it more direct experience. So I'm appreciating the fact that the system is alive and the breath is not up here. Once I kind of get that, then the space around me starts to kind of also, there's a kind of a glow warmth here. The space around me starts to kind of, glow and be warmer. One thing I kind of noticed is that, the first one was just sort of traveling. And in traveling, you do kind of get the eye more into a better level of self. But going back over the pessimism and all that, there's something that's been added. You need to be able to go this way. And you also need to be able to kind of say, okay, this is me right now, and be honest and kind of deal with it at that level. So right now I'm kind of feeling a little bit more what I call transparency. There's a field around me. And so, sometimes it's a little tricky. What is that field's quality? Transparency. Openness. See, if I were to really major in something right now, since things are really transparent, you almost have a type of X-ray vision. What struck me the other day, or maybe what I was saying he had was not X-ray vision, he had time vision. He could see through time, which is a neat trick. In other words, there's a bullet coming, he could see through time. Somebody coming to shatter his skull with a bow can, see through time. So that comes out of a transparency. If you can see through things yourself, you can start to see through other things. So some of the finer realms, they convey talents, not superpowers, unfortunately, but talents, right? All of a sudden, I'm kind of getting it's almost like it's not so much glass, but it's crystal. It's kind of a room with four corners. It has a definite ceiling. It has a definite floor. And it's about the size of the kitchen, but it's square, not rectangle. And all of a sudden, there's light, but it's coming through here. It's not so much light I see out there. If I check back, for example, the breathing continues to be even deeper, finer. Heartbeat is slowed down. So physiologically, psychologically, there's a lot of benefit of things just to sit. Okay? Okay, anybody on that run? Because we did both. We did kind of a macro run, minor dimensions. So we also then kind of took a turn on to David's very wonderful, wonderful description of I, all right? And so I got kind of a mixture of both. Anybody with a question or observation? Where are you? Yes.
So I was able to do this one. Debbie got home from the grocery store and was watching the kids.
Yeah.
So how to start? In lockdown especially, I have these three very wonderful but distracting small people running around the house constantly.
Yeah.
And I've had trouble, because normally when I'm writing, I either go somewhere else or the kids are at school or whatever, and so, okay, see, and so I was wondering, since you were talking earlier about like a swift descent into that, meditative space,
Okay.
whether there's anything you can suggest for something I could do in like a minute or so to get into the right frame of mind to write, or do other creative activities, you know, that aren't, because I can do chores and I can do whatever, but like doing stuff above and beyond, like when I have a chance, when Debbie is parenting and I'm in the house, but you know, I've been just sort of like, because I've been parenting or whatever, and you understand.
Well, I think what it is a little bit is when you're writing, you're in a space, right? And then there are other spaces, you know, you're in a parenting space, you're in, you know, these days it's trickier, but you're in an errand running space. Or, you know, for the rest of us, we're in a relationship space, or we're in a, you know, a training space. You know, that's one thing about the dojo. You get to the dojo, we associate training. For right now, we got to learn how to do that on our own or online. So the trick a little bit is because now I've intended to do some writing, and I just started doing it the other day, and then all of a sudden, just realized 3 or 4 days have gone by and you haven't done it because we get distracted. There's another space. So one of the things, okay, is just okay. Here's see if I was going to write. There are those sensei would say this is now a lineage. It's not swinging the sword. It's not playing music. It's writing. I try to calm the breathing down because this is all about distraction. Initially start out with a single-minded focus. That start to branch out. In other words, okay, now I'm sitting, I'm going to write. What do I want to write? That's all I. Establish your line. Now you establish yourself, the line, you get sublines. Like that line. That's what that's where the script is going to go. Oh, now there's another line. There's a man named Brian Clemens who wrote a lot of the really good episodes of the 60s show, The Avengers. And so somebody asked, Brian, how do you come up with these great plots? I said, he says, I sit down. When I can come up with 5, or what was it, 6, I can't remember things, I then can tie them together and I have a script. We'll have Emma Peel inherit a house. The man who gave her the house was an uncle she never met. That uncle is really a crazed guy that wants to kill her. He creates the house as a weapon to kill her. It's about 5 lines. And one of the best episodes, if you watch the Avengers, and is something called, and it has my name in the title, The House That Jack Built. So
why did you build that house?
Yeah, so I mean, that's what I would do, but you've got to kind of find your own process to get to that writer lineage, right? I mean, that with me, I mean, it's kind of like Nadosa said, I said, yeah, if something doesn't catch my imagination, I'm not interested in it. I mean, I'll tell you, I still get stuff from Dana Riggin, The Avengers, and that was, oh my God, this decades and decades and decades ago. Both from the writing standpoint and in the way that, she made the whole thing go. I mean, secondarily, the male lead was really good because he could treat women with respect. And he was the opposite of James Bond, but a very effective spy, right? And then they could put them in ridiculous situations. And the more ridiculous the situation, the better the show. And so, you know, Brian comes and says, hey, I'm going to do that. Okay, I got the script. So, you know, that there's an area where I would say just find your own space as a writer. And then, you know, you got all this distraction, but settle in, that space starts. If you start to get distracted out there, settle deeper into that space. You know, the same thing with the space is that you settle in. You get more feet and ground in that space. You settle a little bit more, you get some roots down in that space. Now, even though there's stuff going on, you're going to write. And then when I'm kind of like, okay, that bottom opens up, that's imagination. People think imagination is all up here. No, you go deeper. I asked Robert Frazier once, I said, is imagination mental? He said, hell no. Imagination has to do a lot with your mind on a very deep level, so you're feeling it through your body. That's imagination. Imagination for you. Okay? So that would be my tip there. I don't know if that helps or not. Anybody else? Question or comment?
Thank you, Sensei.
Oh, you're welcome. I hope it helps. Yeah. See, for me, it's very easy. It's just, what does my imagination want? My imagination wants to swing the sword, we swing the sword. If it wants to play some music, we play some music. You know, if I want to do something, then that's where my energy goes. But then, you know, that the sense of that the imagination is not something that's out there. It's like, okay. Some sort of lineup through the body, some element or direction of focus is the lineage. I want to play music now. Okay. I want to focus on the cut. Okay. I want to explore other worlds of fantasy, watch Star Trek on Netflix, something like that, or read this or that. See what I mean? Anybody else? And since we talked about some stuff, let's do some movement. We've got maybe a couple of minutes. Okay. So what I'm going to do, and you're welcome to join me if you like, is swing the sword. One thing about the pandemic is we're inside, so you may be bouncing off the walls, but let's start out. If you're going to swing, make sure you don't break anything. You can do this with a staff, but it's a warm up. Okay, and standing, not exaggerated or too high, but like all the work there, easy connection with the deeper energies. All right, and let's just swing. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. You can swing some more or not. So, one thing that Kichizuchi Sensei told me, he just said, there are a lot of people felt, because when O-sensei visited Shingu, they would train a lot together. And he said that really wasn't the case. He said most of the time, it was just hanging out, kind of soaking the fire book, relating, boom, connecting, boom. But he said that, the actual training, he said all of a sudden, since they go this way, they go out and they swing in the dojo, or they would do sword work, or all of a sudden, since they would throw them around a couple times. But mainly it was just hanging out in the quote unquote energy with O-sensei. And to kind of, which is possible, kind of, okay, what can I get kind of from hanging out? What can I do to touch that space or approximate that space O-sensei is hanging out in? So I mean, that was a lot of it. So, the training, he said that there's very little, if any, explanation, when you can swing the sword, you swing the sword. All right. So, what I kind of find, for example, I don't know how many of you actually joined in, but you can bounce off the walls with this isolation stuff. So I just usually just go out and I swing the sword. I don't count the number of cuts or anything, but if I'm going to bounce off the wall, I might as well train. All right. And really, what I'm trying to do with it, I mean, there's a point where, see, I'm swinging the sword. Now, at some point, you swing the sword, boom, you're learning something about, for example, you set a right hand out there, the left hand's close to your center. Right? As you got that cut. In those sense, they call this like subdimensions. There's hips in that. Boom. And there's feet and ground in that cut. Boom. Boom. Okay. And at some point when you keep that, it's like a hose going like that. There's nobody holding the nozzle. Boom. So you have an actual shape or form, which would be the hose with the cutting motion, boom. And you also have, boom, the fact that there's energy moving through. There's nobody holding the nozzle, boom, it may go that way. So it's less I'm cutting and more like, as I kind of get deeper, finer with it, all of a sudden there's a vibration. Well, since we read that thing, there was in the beginning, there was a reverberation. Everything came out of that reverberation. The universe came out of Su, but boom, 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 boom. So we, believe it or not, existed because we came out of the universe. That reverberation is within us. And as we go back more towards the original of ourselves, we're right at that point where boom. And so for me, the cut, we learn a lot of fancy moves. But after a while, somebody grabs your wrist, there's that vibration, boom. Somebody grabs your wrist, there's that vibration. Somebody comes to hit you or something, there's that vibration. So we're, the cutting for me is something that really I'm just going to work off a certain amount of anger or disillusionment or frustration, I swing. When I'm a bit more, if I get into better moods sometimes, I'll play music, So if I'm on the phone for 2 hours with Wada Sensei going back and forth, I usually go play some music. Which is okay. We get in some pretty deep places, and sometimes you just gotta say, okay, I'm gonna play some music. Okay. So what I find, for example, because when I started to really kind of get the fact that there's a point where everything is off of an original reverberation. Everything's off an original reverberation. Everything's off that whatever it is that was boom, boom. With the staff, boom, boom, you get that. And you also, so, and I've done a lot of that for a long time. I didn't do much with the sword, but the isolation, I find the sword cut is something that I use when I'm just about to hit the walls. I just go out and I swing. Okay, so that helps me a lot. And a lot of it is like the actual intensity that you can work up is kind of cathartic. If I just I'm just going to swing in a meditative way. This is a meditation. Clear, boom. You clear to that place where there's self and there's that initial reverberation. Boom, boom, boom. Okay? And I know that, it was like one day, fairly recently, I was watching some stuff. I was watching, Stephen Curry on highlights. He's shot. And I said, that's the same thing as boom. His shot is based on that original reverberation, the original, Wada Sensei would say, the kotokama. Boom, boom. And then I said, well, maybe I'm just making this up in my mind. So I went on YouTube and I watched Sadaharu swing. And boom, boom, looks like that. Boom, that original reverberation, beat, pulse, vibration. I could kind of see how he did it. So those are different lineages, right? And I think the thing that happens potentially, because you can take Aikido into kind of a purely spiritual dimension. But essentially said, the manifest, the hidden, and the divine. But all three in balance. And the cut for me, how can I bring all of that, the divine realm, the hidden realm of energy movement? Divine realm is self. That's my sense of it. Self is much more, its most original sense. And then there's the movement of creation, which we kind of went through, with the finer states. That's the hidden realm. And then we have what's called the manifest realm, or since they call it the Genkai. That's tricky. About all this original soul. And I am in touch with finer levels of creation, but I'm a dud here. So, boom, boom. So the manifest realm, I was telling you, the manifest realm is the heart. You can get a feel through meditation and stuff for yourself as more original I self. And then you can become conscious of the movement of energy in finer dimensions. What's really hard is you put that piece of wood in your hand and it goes like that, or it goes like that, and it's like boom, boom. And so for me, the cut has actually been a pretty major thing during this coronavirus period. This is what I gravitated towards. I heat up water for coffee. It takes 3 minutes in the microwave, get it hot enough, and I put it through a filter. Just pick it up, boom, and just swing. And that kind of gets me right here. And a lot of energy, and I think Cliff would probably confirm this, but when you're writing, you got all these distractions, but when you're writing, you got to get down and dirty with it. You got to write. You see what I mean? Yeah.
So it's like you're inside a cocoon, because it's.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
That's why I could write in cafes with the espresso machine going and conversation, and it was way less distracting than my kids because I don't have to pay attention to any of that. That's not none of that is my problem, right?
Yeah.
So.
I mean, there's an area where, like a lot of times, Nadeau talks about the idea and the energy. And a lot of the energy in lining up those realms is, especially, what the real manifest realm is, it's the real bear. And you get down and dirty with it. You just get down and dirty with it. You've got the original level, more original sense of self. You have the tremendous gamut of finer realms of energy. But then to produce here, you got to get down and dirty. I know, it's crazy. I remember one of my first experiences with that was, when Nadeau Sensei started teaching in San Jose and he invited me to teach there, I was like David, like, what the heck is he talking about? What's he talking about? I felt so dumb. I feel kind of dumb. He gave me any advice that I'm teaching a meditation workshop in San Francisco because Esalen had that. He was doing a lot of Esalen work then. Because, it was really funny. All these intellectuals would come in and Bob would show up and make them feel stupid. That was his number one thing. Like, it's like, you guys are hopeless. Da, 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 da. But then he would kind of bring them around, His basic sense, I mean, if you haven't caught it, is that no, he can make you feel stupid like nobody else. Okay. And the other person that could do that was Hikizuchi. That's, there's a certain personality type that literally, that's their number one thing. Okay. And so I said, oh, okay. So I went to this meditation workshop. And so I'm there and I'm, how old was I? I was 76. I was 28 years old. Just get back from Japan, so I'm in good shape. So, there's a bunch of people, they're there to be spiritual. And so the Nadeau says, okay, when I count to 3, everybody's going to drop to the ground and give me 20 push-ups real fast. 1, 2. And I'm like, okay. Lined up, squared away, 20 push-ups. And everybody's freaking. And so finally, it says, when he gets to 2, and everybody's saying, oh no, you just don't do it. And so, his basic sense was, okay, here you are. I give you this task. All this energy starts to come up in your system to do it. And so he had people sit down and talk about the reactions, all of which were pretty profoundly negative. What was going on for me? 20 push-ups, okay. I was used to getting down and dirty because that's what Japan was. Get down and dirty with it, but you do it as a part of understanding the structure. We exist on a very, very, very divine level. Everybody here on a fine level is either a god or a goddess. That's the divine realm. That's just self, soul, spirit, whatever you want to call it. And the energies of the universe, to some degree, run denser to finer. All right? But the real bear is what we call the manifest realm. I think a lot of what's going on is actually pretty healthy, especially, you know, the Black Lives Matter protest. It's going on globally. It's not just a national thing. It's not just African Americans or people of color. All of a sudden, people are getting down and dirty here. Now, what's interesting is if you kind of look at our president, he makes a career out of getting down and dirtier than everybody else. And a lot of times, you know, people in certain positions of power, that's what they do. And so the rest of us are going, with an eye, they're getting down and dirty. He has almost no talent other than his ability to get down and dirty. So, if we get some sense of ourselves in that divine realm, self, there's some fluidity with the finer realms of energy. We learn how to get down and dirty for good things. But that's what the Aikido training is supposed to be. We're supposed to get down and dirty and incorporate things like love, peace, harmony. See what I mean? That's why this isolation is really hard. Because we do that when we gather together and train. All right? So, you know, that was something that hit me, you know, when I was kind of doing the cut. What the heck am I doing here? I was, I'm getting down and dirty. Boom, there's self in that. Boom. And there's finer realms in that. Boom. But I'm going to put my stamp on it right here. Boom. In the material realm. So that kind of, why am I doing this crazy cut? It's all I'm doing is this cut. You know? I'm not, you know, I'm doing other things, but you know, mainly I'm doing that cut. Yeah, I'm getting down and dirty with stuff. I gotta put the dishes away. I gotta cook. I gotta do this. Okay, get down and dirty with it. Let the energy kind of flow through you. And my experience in that meditation class was very interesting because, you know, I was perfectly okay with getting down and dirty off of 20 push-ups. So in that sense, they had no power over me. I said, yeah, what's next? Okay, I'm cool. I was very cool with the energy on that level at that time, you know. But then, you know, what happened is, you know, which was good. It's okay, there's energy coming up, let's settle with it. And then you had people, as you settle with it, you get images. So, you know, that energy, which is like I'm getting energy to stand up, I don't want to. You know, but then again, getting energy, I settle with that energy, and all of a sudden, you know, then there's like a hydraulic lift here. So he was having people do some motion, settle with the energy, and you know, I'm putting my hand out here. There's a stream of energy going out. I'm starting to breathe faster because I'm getting energy. I'm going to settle with it. And there's a kind of a cleansing feeling of breath. So that stuff was very valuable because when he was talking about all this stuff, and I began to realize, you know, that you know, okay, yeah, you could actually get very original very quickly without going into Shinto gods and goddesses. But that was what happened for me. It was like, okay, and what he tends to do is that you've got to realize it. If you know, if you're just locked in, if you're just there and you do push-ups, he's gonna bump you for that. I could have been a push-up machine. I can still do 20, whatever, but that's another thing. And on the other hand, if you're too dreamy in the finer realms, he'll get you because you can't get down and dirty. You see what I mean? And so, you know, what I kind of hope, you know, I mean, the whole thing about the presidential election is you get a good candidate, that candidate will be able to get down and dirty in a clean way with our current president. That's what I hope for. Because if you don't, I don't think he's necessarily going to win, but you know that it's more of the same. Okay, and there's a talent, you know, with the support of the divine realm and the hidden realm, to get appropriately down and dirty here in the manifest. And that's what the Aikido is about here, because we are in the manifest realm. And so if you think you're going crazy, one thing I do is I swing the sword. And that just gets me in that down and dirty place without hurting myself, hurting anybody. So anyway, any questions? I think that's probably about it for today. We were taking tomorrow off, okay, because it's the 4th of July. Hope everybody has a good 4th of July weekend. Be safe. Don't give into a negative eye and do something that endangers yourself or other people. Okay, so we will see you on Monday.
Thank you, Sensei. See you, everyone.
Thank you, Sensei. Thank you, David. Nice to see you, Bonnie.
What's your shirt, Cliff?
Ah, yeah, I was wondering if you'd pick up on that. See if you recognize any of the names. It's a crew manifest from a
Nice.
movie. It's the
I'm not
crew
sure.
of, well, let's see it. The last one should be Ripley. Or Burke Ripley is an advisor. Ellen Ripley. Burke. It's from the crew of the Sulaco from Aliens.
Ah, that's been a while since I've seen that.
Yeah. So it is actually a replica of the screen, right? The 1980s era screen.
Nice.
Yep. So, yeah. So kind of naval, but I mean, they're Marines. But, you know.
Well, you know, they work for us. Just don't tell them that.
Well, they were colonial Marines. I don't know exactly what the, you know, what the relationship was to, and they were clearly, you know, working in cahoots with Wayland Yutani. So were they corporate mercs or were they government people functioning essentially as mercs?
You're up here. You're up here.
I'm a science fiction writer. That is me world building. That is actually me getting down in the muck with it.
Nice.
Because I like to understand these things, right? Because
yeah.
But I'll tell you, my very favorite bit of, like, as a writer, genius characterization in that movie is there's the moment where they're all coming out of a hyperspace sleep, right? And you see the sergeant. They're all groggy and they've been, you know, been in suspended animation for months. They're groggy. They're barely waking up. The sergeant sits up, and the very first thing he does is he sticks a cigar already chewed into his mouth that he's been in cryonic sleep with for months, right? He's just like, he pops the cigar, and then he's the sergeant, right? And that bit of character, which is done without dialogue, is just brilliant, because it tells you everything you need to know about this sergeant. Right?
Nice. Yeah, I used to at the end of naval tours, like I quit smoking a long time ago, but the end of like every deployment or tour, I would get a cigar just to, it's over.
Right. Sure.
You did it at the beginning, so.
Sure. Yeah, and those rituals are very important, right? You know, to mark that, hey, I survived. Right,
Still alive. Let's kill myself with a cigar.
It's a slower kind of thing. 1 or 2 cigars is gonna do it.
So what kind of stuff do you write?
So you can find, I've so far sold short stories. I have a novel, but I haven't sold it yet. It's sitting on an editor's desk and has been for a few months. There are a number of short stories, one of which is freely available online and actually has military characters. And I've never been in the military. My dad and uncles were all in the military, World War II and Korean War. for in my dad's case. You know, I hope I did okay with it. The protagonist in that one is a martial artist who's related to a bunch of career military. So that's available online, because that was I sold it to an anthology, but I resold it to a podcast, and it's on the Escape Pod podcast website. You can read it or listen to it. Also, if you have Facebook, I recently read it myself as part of Story Hour, which is just storyhour2020.com. You can hear me read the same story. And although I'm not as good as the professional reader who read it on the podcast, she mispronounced a couple things. So from my point of view, from my OCD, it's much better. So that's a science fiction story about an alien invasion and the aftermath of a battle on Pluto. And then there's some fantasy. It's got steampunk. I have a steampunk ghost story on Mars. I have all sorts of other things anywhere in between that. So I don't have a collection out yet, but I have a bunch of short stories and anthologies and a couple of magazines. And I'm trying to sell the novel.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, but the one free one is that one.
Keep looking up, because I have a big screen up here where you guys are, but the camera's down here. So, so enjoy my chin.
It's chiseled. It's okay.
Very cool.
So,
how long ago did you get started at writing? Like,
oh, well, you know, unpublished ages ago, right? I mean, I was writing in college on a typewriter, because I'm old. Then my first sale was in like 2005. Came out in 2005. So for 15 years, I have been a published writer.
very cool.
Not quite. There's something called professional rates and semi-pro rates. And so I've been a professionally published writer, professional rates for less time than that, but I've sold stories at professional rates. And this is my daughter, Talia.
Hi, Talia. I'm Bonnie.
Snuggling with me off camera. So David, you remember, and this is Bonnie. And you're in, what, Montana, right? Or,
Right now I'm in Utah, but I live in Alaska.
Utah.
I'm staying
Alaska.
with
Where in Alaska? We were just in Alaska.
Anchorage. So I normally study under Cal Cucciama.
Anchorage.
Were you?
Yeah,
Did you like it?
we were there. Yeah. So while we were in Anchorage, I have one story that is in a weird Western anthology, which is like Western horror fantasy set in the Wild West. And the book is called Straight Outta Deadwood. And there's a picture of Talia and her twin sister holding up the two copies that the Barnes & Noble in Anchorage had, which I signed.
Very cool.
The manager of that B&N was thrilled that, like, you know, a writer from the lower 48 had actually shown up in her bookstore. And it wasn't a whole book, it's just a story in a book. But that one I'm particularly proud of too, called Straight Outta Deadwood. And my story is Not Fade Away, which is named after the Buddy Holly song.
Very cool.
So
You gonna come back up anytime?
that's actually kind of related to this. Well, yeah, maybe when the world comes back, sure. My wife's best friend from med school lives in Anchorage. That's why we were there.
Mom.
Yeah, her name is Maud. Anyway, she and her husband. And so that was our first trip to Alaska, because they had moved from Colorado. So it was fun. It was nice. We went out and the kids saw snow for the first time, because they live in California. And we had a drought for many years, which meant there was no snow in the mountains. That's my wife. And anyway. Talia. Okay. And anyway, so yeah. So we had a good time. I think my other daughter just is now hiding behind me. So, and my son ran by yelling that he had to go potty because he's 4 years old, and that's the kind of dialogue you get here. So when Sensei was talking, there he is. When Sensei was talking about, you know, getting down and dirty, if you're a parent, this is not a problem. You know, I spent many years changing diapers, and that's a kind of spiritual thing. Event, you know, so I'm not going to keep David as sort of stuck here while we chat, I think. So I don't want to keep him if he doesn't want to be kept.
All right. Well, thanks for the chat, and
Yeah.
happy 4th of July to everyone.
Yeah. Next time you're in Anchorage, there should be a couple of copies in Barnes & Noble of Straight Outta Deadwood. It's also, you know, available as a book and finer bookstores, and that's a nice book. That's one of my longer pieces. It's novelette length, which is something between a short story and a novella. And it's actually inspired a little bit by this movie. It has a woman and a young girl fighting some monsters. So
Very cool.
I don't know. What do you normally read?
So I was in the Navy almost 20 years, and I read a lot of technical manuals and classified things. And I've been trying to get back into reading, and it kind of involves
Don't let
very
go.
young kids books. Because
You
I'm
heavy.
going through chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia, depression, and just the act of finishing a book is an amazing thing now. So, but I used to read a lot of
Come on,
sci-fi
don't be afraid.
Okay.
for the Navy, like Terry Brooks and I
Yes,
forget
you
who else.
are. You're afraid
Mhm.
of cats.
I used to stay up and read 1 to 3 novels a night
Wow.
you know,
You're what?
for the Navy. But I wouldn't remember the words. It would like create an image in my head, and I would. So but I have a whole ton of books I want to read now, including a bunch of Aikido books, and I'm loving that Sensei reads to us from the book, and I'm like, oh, good, because I can't read yet.
Well, check out the podcast. You know, she reads it to you.
Get over
And it's a good podcast in general. I mean, they Escape Pod is a fabulous science fiction podcast. Anyway, thank you, David, for sticking with us for a few extra minutes.
Get over
That's fine. I'm happy to do it.
All right, and have a happy, safe 4th of July, everyone.
Yeah.
And I'll see you all next week. Bonnie, if you want, find me on Facebook. I'm, Cliff Winnig. I'm cliffwinnig.com. Find me on Twitter.
Okay, I'll look you up right after we hang up.
Okay, bye.
All right, see you. See you, David. Where's my off button? Somewhere here.